There are three things that I see people get wrong in yoga all the time that either limit their progress or make you feel like you're not good at yoga. There's no such thing. All three are super common, but number three is the one that no one seems to ever talk about. So first up is to do with our good old friend downward facing dog. There are so many great benefits of down dog, and one of them is stretching of the hamstrings. Your hamstrings start from your sit bones, the bony bit under your bum, and run down to just below your knee. So to stretch them, these 2 points need to be as far apart as possible. Pelvic tilt refers to the position of the pelvis and which direction it's tilting in. Imagine your pelvis like a big bowl of water. Anterior pelvic tilt is when the water is being poured out the front of the bowl, and therefore the sit bones turn a little bit upwards towards the sky. Posterior pelvic tilt is when the water is poured out the back of the bowl, but not quite as dramatic as this. And therefore the sit bones turn down and they tuck towards the floor. So considering that our knees are down there towards the floor, to stretch the hamstrings, we need to send the sit bones up towards the sky. And therefore that means anterior pelvic tilt. The first most common mistake is people thinking that their heels need to touch the ground in downward facing dog. For most people who have tightness in their hamstrings, by pushing the heels all the way down to the floor, you're going to pull your pelvis into posterior pelvic tilt and move away from hamstring stretching and just send it all into your calves. So that's great if you're looking for a good old calf stretch, but that's about it. Next up is our spicy friend Chaturanga, also known as the yogi push-up. Technically, Chaturanga is a stationary position, that bottom position push-up kind of pose, but it's often used interchangeably with the transition into Chaturanga, the lowering down phase. Chaturanga is undoubtedly hard, and the further away your feet are to your hands, the harder it is. So sorry, tall folk, I feel your pain. And the longer that your arms are, the further the distance you have to travel and control your body weight. So sorry again, long-armed folks, I also feel your pain. Also, it's simply a fact that women have proportionally less muscle in their upper bodies than men, and many women do yoga. So cut yourself some slack. The second most common error in yoga is not dropping the knees for your Chaturanga to be able to enter it well. Shorten that distance between the hands and the feet. And then finally, kind of blending into this talk of Chaturanga, is the idea of transitioning from Chaturanga to upward facing dog and rolling over the toes. Can I just start by pointing out that I really don't like this transition? I don't suggest it within my classes, and I don't think it's suitable for many people. Why? Well, because rolling over the toes is a very shortened and simplified, and therefore quite inaccurate, phrase on what the transition needs to be. If we take ourselves down into Chaturanga and then roll over the toes as we lift the chest into up dog, quite simply, we've pulled our feet much closer to our hands. And because upward facing dog is a back bend, this shorter distance is demanding our spines to be bendier. And if we quite simply don't have that bendiness, we either find ourselves crunching up our lower backs and it just not feeling very good here, or trying to compensate for that shorter distance by leaning the chest way over the hands, which either A, results in you splatting flat onto the mat, or B, feels really stressful on your wrists due to that hyperextension. So what should you do? My preference? Simply skip out this rather pointless decoration of rolling the feet and turn them over. This means that you don't shorten the distance and you give your spine plenty of room to play with. But if you do want to roll over the toes, of which you are very welcome to, you have to slide those toes backward first. This is why I don't often teach this transition, because as I mentioned in mistake number 2, Chaturanga is hard. And a huge amount of people struggle to do it skillfully, let alone hold it whilst they scoot their feet back along a grippy mat which is providing resistance and then press up into up dog. It's an extremely advanced move. So if you've struggled with this transition before, rest assured it's not just you. It seems to be something that's rarely discussed considering how common the transition is. And if you've got to this point and thought, well, I can't even do Chaturanga properly because it's so damn hard, go watch this video for some strength drills or check out my Chaturanga workshop, which is down in the description below.